Grading every week 5 box score from the NFL. Okay, we do this every single week. We go through the box scores and we try and determine who had fake wins, who had real wins, vice versa. Shout out Pastor Troy. Okay, here we go. Are we ready? Now, I know it's a little bit later in the week than we usually do it, so I got to try and recollect the games. But the good news is with this is that when you are breaking things down from a box score level like this is going to sound crazy, but what actually happened, like on a play-by-play kind of thing, you don't really have to know, right? We're just looking at it strictly from a metric standpoint, okay? Now, with the Saints game, you'll see how those kind of work in tandem. Thursday night, 49ers-Rams, this game was absolutely insane. Mac Jones put it all on the line. I will give him that. Mac Jones, rumor was he ate 11 bananas. He was throwing up in the game. His clothes were falling off. He was hurt. He had so many injuries. Somehow, the 49ers win this game. A lot of fumbles, a controversial decision in overtime from Sean McVay. So let's go ahead. By the way, sidebar conversation. With the new overtime, there's some real chess match stuff going on with should you kick it or should you receive it. In this particular game, the 49ers defense was gassed. Mac Jones was literally barely alive, okay? And the Rams kicked it. I think you receive in that situation because you receive, their defense is absolutely gassed. You know that. If you score a touchdown, now you know, hey, we got to stop Mac Jones, who's barely even holding on. It's a very unique, and then if they score, you get that third possession where all of a sudden now it's okay, I can kind of bleed the clock out, score at the end. It's a real chess match. It's 50-50, I think, of do you receive, do you kick. Anyways, all right, so first downs, even. Third down efficiency, 7 for 18 for the 49ers, 4 for 10 for the Rams. Fourth down, 3 for 3 for the Niners, 2 for 3 for the Rams. That one they missed was the big one at the end. Horrible play call from McVay. I didn't mind going for it, but I did mind seeing an 8-man box and then going into a timeout, coming out of a timeout, seeing another 8-man box and saying we're going to run a halfback dive up the middle. Total plays are total yards, 756 for the Rams, or 456 for the Rams, with a 7.1 yards per play, 407 for the 49ers, but a 4.9 yards per play. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you just look at yards, if you're just going to ESPN.com and looking at just yards, this looks pretty similar, right? 456 to 407. But in reality, 7.1 yards per play and 4.9 yards per play is wildly different. Now, okay, this is an enormous difference right here in YPP. So we already know what has to have happened. Turnovers have to have happened. And they did. And boy, were they big ones. 2 fumbles lost, one of them on the literal 1-yard line from Kyron Williams. That's the difference in this game. 2 turnovers, and then the 49ers also had the ball for 40 minutes time in possession, 26 minutes for the Rams. So this one's close. The Rams probably still deserve to win the game. It's such a significant YPP advantage. But 2 turnovers, hard to -2 in the turnover margin is hard to survive. But this probably should have been the other way. It's not a fake win or anything like that, but the Rams certainly got to be kicking themselves when you run for 4.9 yards a rush compared to 2.2 yards a rush. You have 7.1 yards per play compared to 4.9 yards per play. You're at home and you lose the game in overtime. Brutal. But, again, like a fumble in the middle of the field, whatever. A fumble on the 1 as you are walking, basically going into the end zone. That's a gut punch. All right. Saints, Giants, 26-14. Saints win by 12. You win by 12. Remember, my store is 12% off until kickoff against the Patriots. First down is 23 for the Giants, 18 for the Saints. 3 for 10 on back-to-back games. The Saints have held their opponent to 30% on third down. Saints were 7 for 15. Fourth down efficiency, 3 for 5 from the Giants, 1 for 1 from the Saints. Total yards, 335 to 332, but the Saints win YPP 5.4 yards per play compared to the 4.8 yards per play from the New York Giants. Yards per pass, Saints 7.6 with an 87-yard pass or an 87-yard touchdown pass. That's what happens. Turnovers, 5 turnovers for the Giants, 31 minutes of possession for the Giants, 28 minutes for the Saints. So, on one hand, the Saints definitely deserve to win this game. On the other hand, you can say, well, if you're going to get +5 in the turnover margin and you win YPP, albeit by not that much, 0.6, you should probably win by more than 12 at home. But that's really kind of splitting hairs. And if you watch this game, I think you would agree, right? You would agree, yeah, we definitely should have won by more. We went over 3 in the red zone. And Grippy missed another kick. It's like, agreed. And that's one of those things where the box score says, yeah, you probably should have won by more than 12. And then if you watch the game, you agree. The Saints, yeah, they should have won by more than 12. So I think this tells the whole story. The Saints definitely deserve the win. The question is, they probably should have won by more margin. So the bad news with that is, if you take away the 5 turnovers, the Giants probably win this game. Just 5 turnovers, like a defensive special teams touchdown for the Saints, all this stuff. And then you're looking at this like, damn, how did the Saints lose this game? So the Saints cannot rely on 5 turnovers every single game. Now, the next question is, okay, well, the Giants just dog-walked Philadelphia on Thursday Night Football. Does that mean the Saints are better than Philadelphia? No. It means this is a week-to-week league, which also means, or is evidence of why you should not overreact to one week to another week to another week. Remember, we're just having kind of thoughts and analysis and whatever, and then we fluidly move it and kind of see where we're at on a week-to-week basis. We do not do the hot takes here. We don't do hot take rants, whatever. Last week, imagine if you're the Giants, right? You play this game against the Saints. 5 turnovers. What's going on? What happened to Jackson Dart? I thought he was the savior. Imagine the whiplash. Chargers game. Jackson Dart's the greatest player of all time. Saints game. Team sucks. Fire Brian Daboll. Hot seat. 5 turnovers. Then, boom, Philadelphia. Build the statue. Can't live in that hot take world in the NFL. It is truly a week-to-week league. Green Bay Packers. After week 1, they were the best team of all time. They're the best defense of all time. Super Bowl favorites. Then they lose to the Browns. Then what? Right? Okay. Next up, Vikings-Browns in London in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Okay, this was a weird one to watch. Some horrible quarterback play. First downs, 20-17 Vikings. Third down, the Browns were 3 for 15, and the Vikings were 3 for 9. Yards, 349 to 322. YPP, the Vikings had 5.7. The Browns had 4.8. Rushing, 4.2 to 4.4. Penalties, 10 penalties for the Browns. Confirmed, the Browns do not respect Kevin Stefanski. 2 turnovers, it's pretty wild. 2 turnovers for the Vikings. So the Vikings were -2 in the turnover margin, and they won the game. So similar to the Rams 49ers, where it's like, all right, if you have enough of a YPP advantage, if you have enough of stuff going on, you can survive the 2 turnovers. But this was 1.1 yard, or not even 0.9 of an advantage in YPP. So I don't think that's really enough. The Browns probably should have won this game. Kind of hard luck not to win this one. Let's see. Third down's what's got them, I guess. Like, third down, I guess, is the difference maker in this. But the Browns probably should have won this in like a 1-point game. This probably should have been 23-21 Cleveland. All right, next up, ladies and gentlemen, on a Friday, no less, huh? What am I doing? I can't get back to the box scores? All right. Raiders Colts. Man, what's going on with the Vegas Raiders? I'll tell you what's going on with the Vegas Raiders. Geno Smith. God. Look, I'm not in the building, but it seems like Geno does not work with Chip Kelly's offense. And it seems like Chip Kelly, there's something not adding up for Geno when it comes to running this offense. Geno has not looked this bad since he played for the Jets. Okay? In Seattle, he was sweet. He was a top 10, top 12 level kind of quarterback, and now all of a sudden he is a detriment to this team. All right, here we go. First downs, 24 for the Colts, 22 for the Raiders. 8 for 10 on third down for the Colts, 80%. Lord have mercy. 8 for 14 from the Raiders on third down. Now, a little bit of that is the Colts playing some prevent defense. They were up 40-3 in the third quarter. They were up 20-3 in the second. So, yards per play, the Colts 5.6, Raiders 4.6. Again, you have to kind of, in a blowout, you can't really worry about this kind of stuff because the Colts are just running the ball, right? Like, they're not worried about YPP. They're running the football, killing the clock. They're putting backups in it. It's 40-6. Rushing, let's see, 3.8 yards to carry for the Colts, 4.2 for the Raiders. 2 turnovers for the Raiders, 2 interceptions thrown. It shouldn't have been this, but again, you can't really tell by the stats because you don't know what happened after it was 40-3, or when it was 27-3 or whatever. There's no way to tell. So, yeah, I mean, Geno is the problem right now with the Raiders. I mean, he is a disaster right now, and they gotta figure that out. 2 year, was it a 2 year, $75 million deal? Ooh, that's ugly. That's absolutely ugly. I've heard people say, will they trade for Russell Wilson? I've heard people say, will they trade for Shedeur Sanders? It's not good in Raider land, man. All right, Cowboys, Jets. Cowboys put it on them. Jets are another laughingstock. The sole winless team now. Aaron Glenn, I heard rumors from New York sports radio that they were saying, would it be possible to consider firing him mid-season, which is crazy to think about. All right, 25 first downs for the Jets, 22 for the Cowboys. Total yards, 416 for the Cowboys, 378 for the Jets. YPP, 7.1 for the Cowboys, 5.2 for the Jets. 7.1 is a lot. It's a lot. Rushing, 180 for the Cowboys, 144 for the Jets, 6.2 yards per rush for the Cowboys, 6.5 yards per rush for the Jets. This is a crazy offensive game. 11 penalties for the Cowboys, confirmed, no respect. 10 penalties for the Jets, confirmed, no respect. 1 turnover for the Jets, a fumble loss. The Jets also had 9 minutes more time of possession. The Cowboys definitely deserve to win this game. They are, not only do they have 7.1 yards of play, but they almost have a 2-yard per play advantage, and they get the turnover. They get +1 in the turnover. So yes, and they have yards. So they ran the ball for 6.2 yards carry. So yes, the Cowboys should have won. All good in that one. That one is appropriate. The Jets remain ass. Okay, next up, man, the ESPN box score thing is jacked up. Broncos, Eagles. Broncos come back 18 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Eagles. The Eagles then take a bad loss against the Giants. We have every single week we come on here and say, the Eagles are not really winning these box scores. Like, they're overrated. And then all of a sudden they start losing. And all of a sudden now the entire national media is like, wait a second, are the Eagles overrated? It's like, yeah, they were outgained in every single game they won. They won 4 games. They were 4-0 with 4 straight games of being outgained. That's insane. All right, in this one, 23 first downs for the Broncos, 16 for the Eagles, 358 yards for the Broncos, 302 for the Eagles, 5.1 yards per play for the Broncos, 5.5 yards per play for the Eagles. So the Eagles with a slight advantage there. Rushing, the Eagles had 45 yards rushing. The Broncos had 130. No turnovers for either. Broncos had 34 minutes of possession. The Eagles had 25 minutes of possession. So when things are this close, YPP is 0.4 off. Yards are, 56 yards off. It's right there, right? Penalties, 12-9, no turnovers. I don't know if Denver should have won this game. It was close. This definitely is one of those games where, the big differentiator, I guess, is they sacked Jalen Hurts 6 times. The Broncos had 9 extra minutes of possession. Third down, Eagles were only 2 for 11. So that kind of stuff is what tips this. 70 plays for the Broncos to 55 plays. This definitely should have been a very close game. It was a very close game. But, yeah, definitely a toss-up. Definitely a toss-up box score. No doubt about it. All right. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the Dolphins-Panthers. So the Panthers come back in this one, win late. Let's see how this played out. Panthers 20. I remember seeing something during the game about how the Panthers were dominating the box score and should have been winning. And I can already tell you that's what's going on here. So 26 first downs for the Panthers, 15 for the Dolphins, 418 yards for the Panthers, 248 for the Dolphins, 6.4 yards per play for the Panthers, 4.7 for the Dolphins. So, okay, we're getting way over into Carolina land. Rushing 239 yards for the Panthers, 19 for the Dolphins, 7.5 yards per rush, 1.4 yards per rush for the Dolphins. Jesus. 8 penalties for the Carolina, 9 penalties for the Dolphins, 2 turnovers for Carolina. Okay, there you go. So that's how it was close. So Carolina's dominating this box score. I mean, 239 yards rushing to 19, 7.5 yards per rush to 1.4, 6.4 yards per play to 4.7. All right. And it shows you just how hard it is to overcome turnovers. All that domination, and they had to win in the fourth quarter. Carolina obviously deserved to win this game, and they did. Yeah, I mean, Miami, yeesh. Mike McDaniel, the seat gets hotter. All right, Texans-Ravens, Texans 44-10. Yikes. This is another one where it's like, this was over quick. Real fast, let's see. 27 first downs for the Texans, 12 for the Ravens. 7 for 12 on third down for the Texans, 3 for 8 for the Ravens, 417 total yards for the Texans, 207 for the Ravens, 6.3 yards per play for the Texans, 5.2 for the Ravens. Yeah, I mean, 44 yards rushing for the Ravens, 2.3 yards per rush, 9 penalties for the Ravens confirmed, do not respect John Harbaugh, 3 turnovers for the Ravens. Also lost time of possession by 13 minutes. Yes, Houston deserved to win this game. The question is, can Lamar Jackson return, and can they fix what's going on in Baltimore fast enough to make the playoffs? They're horrible right now. And here's the deal. Same thing in Philadelphia, where they just aren't getting the production out of Saquon. They just aren't getting the production out of Derrick Henry. And the defense in Baltimore is really, really bad. So, like a lot of... when you've got a 2,000-yard back, when you've got all that stuff going on, it can hide a lot of warts. But when you start to lose that, hard to win games. So Baltimore's got a lot to figure out, and they got to figure it out quick. All right, Tennessee 22, Arizona 21. This was a crazy effing game. Tennessee scores 16 points to win in the fourth quarter to win. If y'all have not seen the fumble, oh my God. I'm not talking about when DeMercado fumbled before he reached the end zone. I'm talking about the fumble that Tennessee had that resulted in a Tennessee touchdown. I obviously can't show it because of copyright strike, but my God. Like, between DeMercado's dropping the ball before he enters the end zone on a 75-yard touchdown run and the ball rolling around for literally 20 yards before it's picked up for a touchdown, this was brutal. And I'll tell you this. This is the second time Arizona's done this in 5 weeks, all right? The game they won against the Panthers did everything they could to almost win that. The Panthers had a chance at the end of the game to win that game. So Arizona is having a really hard time closing games against bad teams, Tennessee and Carolina. All right, so that's a big problem with the Cardinals. Okay, 20 first downs for the Titans, 16 for the Cardinals. 327 total yards for the Titans, 360 for the Cardinals, 5 yards per play for the Titans, 5.6 for the Cardinals. Rushing 168 for the Cardinals. Yeah, as of right now, the Cardinals are winning the game, right? 5.6 to 5, 360 to 327, 168 to 78, 5.8 yards a carry to 3.3. And then so the Cardinals have 3 turnovers, the Titans have 2, so the Titans are +1 in the turnover margin, and I mean, that's the game. Like, that's it. But this is also a weird one. It's also a weird game because of the plays. Like, this is one of the things where, like, 3 turnovers looks bad, but it's like, okay, well, what if one of them is, on the 1-yard line? What if one of them turns into a Tennessee touchdown? Like, it was just some absolute foolishness happening in Arizona. And it's honestly, like, if I just look at the box score, it's like, all right, I mean, relatively even. Like, okay, yeah, rushing is warped, but yards per play, everything's pretty even here. One turnover, okay, maybe Tennessee wins close. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe Arizona finds a way to win close. Like, this definitely should have been a close game looking at this box score, but Arizona should not have lost this game. Like, this is just such a bad showing. I mean, it's 21-6. It's 21-6 at home against Cam Ward. At that point, the game should be over. I mean, crazy scenes in Arizona. Now Kyler Murray might be hurt. You know, it's just a disaster over there. All right. But definitely, if you haven't seen the fumble I'm talking about, go look. It's insane. Buccaneers Seahawks game of the week. I tweeted out this should have been the Super Bowl. I know it's two NFC teams, but whatever. These two teams, this is to go from Arizona, Tennessee to this game is just unbelievable. This is some high level play from all around. All right, Buccaneers 38, Seahawks 35 was the final. First downs 25 Bucks, 27 Seahawks. I almost had 72. Had a little flip flop right there. Third down 7 for 11 from the Bucks, 6 for 9 for the Seahawks. Total yards 426 for the Bucks, 463 from the Seahawks. I mean, some serious offense happening. 7.3 yards per play for the Bucks, and they lost YPP by 1.3. Seahawks 8.6 yards per play. Ay caramba. 370 passing for the Bucks, 341 for the Seahawks. Rushing, Seahawks had 122 for 6.1 yards a carry. The Bucks had 56 for 2.3 yards a carry. 2 turnovers from the Seahawks. Time of possession 33 minutes for the Bucks, 26 minutes for the Seahawks. I mean, listen, if you're the Seahawks, okay, you had 463 yards of offense. You had 8.6 yards per play. You had 6.1 yards per carry and lost. How's it even possible? How's it even possible? 2 turnovers, man. 2 turnovers. Yeah, I mean, this looks about right. Obviously a very close game. The only thing, like 1.3 yards per play difference is pretty significant, but 2 turnovers is pretty significant too. So the Buccaneers, if they're going to win, they're going to win this one close, and that's exactly what they did. What a game. I mean, Baker Mayfield, I've got him on MVP tickets. I've got the Bucs to win the NFC. I've got the Bucs to win the Super Bowl. I love what they're doing. They were fortunate to get a win here, but turnovers are turnovers. What a player Baker Mayfield has become. Same with Sam Darnold. What a player he has become. Clint Kubiak is cooking up magic up there in Seattle. Detroit and Cincinnati. Detroit rolls. This one was out of hand. It was 28-3. Cincinnati rattles off 21 points in the fourth quarter. So the box score is going to be a little bit fugazi, but Detroit, 23 first downs to Cincinnati's 21. 365 yards total for the Lions, 322 for the Bengals. 6.0 yards per play for the Lions, 5.6 yards per play for the Bengals. 118 yards rushing for the Lions, 85 for the Bengals, but the Bengals did run for 5.3 yards a carry, whereas the Lions had 3.6 yards a carry. 3 turnovers for the Bengals. These jungle cats are getting me. 1 turnover for the Lions. The Lions had 34 minutes of possession. The Bengals had 25. Again, it's hard to just look at a box score during a blowout like this, but Detroit definitely should have won. They won the YPP, and they won turnovers by 2. So you win YPP, you go +2 in the turnover margin, you're going to win the game almost always. Okay, let's continue our journey. Let's continue our march down week 5. Next up, the Commanders and the Chargers. Commanders beat the Chargers. Chargers starting to slide a little bit here. The Chargers have a lot of injuries. So Marion Hampton goes down. He's on the IR with an ankle injury. They have lost Slater. Well, they lost Slater early in the or before the season, and they lost Joe Alt to a high ankle sprain as well. So same story for the Chargers. They got to get healthy, right? They looked like the best team in the NFL, and then injuries happen, right? No team is ready for that. No team is ready to lose your starting tackles. No team is ready to lose some of your best offensive players. We saw it last year with the Saints, where It's like, oh, we got to have better depth. We got to have better third string centers. No one has that. The Chargers, really good roster, really good team, a really good quarterback, a really good coach. They cannot survive being down the players they're down. And you're seeing it. All right. Here we go. First downs, 22 for... Oh, and Jaden Daniels was back for Washington in this game. And I'm sure the Commanders are happy to have him back. He is the man. 22 first downs for Washington, 18 for the Chargers. Yards, 389 for Washington, 336 for the Chargers. YPP, 7.1. Third time we've seen 7.1. 7.1 yards per play for the Commanders, 5.2 for the Chargers. Significant. Almost 2 yards to play. Quick maths. Let's see. Herbert was sacked 5 times. Chargers were 9 for 16 on third down. The Commanders were 2 for 7 on third down. Penalties, 10 penalties from the Chargers confirmed, do not respect Jim Harbaugh. And they had 2 turnovers to Washington's 1. So Washington won YPP by almost 2 yards and won the turnover battle by +1. Time of possession, 34-19 for the Chargers, 25 minutes for the Commanders. Yes, the Commanders should have absolutely won this game. Again, you win YPP by almost 2 yards and you go plus anything in the turnover margin, you are going to win the game. That's just how it works. It's easy algorithm there. It really is crazy, ladies and gentlemen. Like, if you go through and you just look at YPP and turnovers, if a team wins both, they're going to win the game. You don't have to look at nothing else. You don't have to look at, what did this running back do? What did this wide receiver do? What did this quarterback do? Doesn't matter. Right now, it's not 100% obviously, but that's the main driver. And that's why, I really try and get this through. The game is, I think the way we're taught to watch the game isn't necessarily conducive to figuring out who should have won the game. Similarly, the way we're taught to look at how good a defense is, how many passing yards did they give up? Oh, well, they didn't give up that. I mean, they must be a good, they must be a good defense. Okay, or was it a 35-point blowout and the other team wasn't passing and they were rushing, right? There's a lot of context. So looking at the really shallow stats, passing yards, whatever, those things don't determine who wins and loses the game most of the time. It is things like YPP, it's things like turnovers, total yards, all that stuff. Okay, Patriots-Bills, Sunday freaking night. The Patriots go into Buffalo and win. What a game. What a performance from Jake May. The Bills, I'll tell you this. I'm not going to say the Bills are fugazi, but I don't know if this iteration of the Bills can win the Super Bowl because their defense is that bad and they're so devoid of anything outside of Josh Allen. I mean, when you're asking for Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman to really do things. You're asking Dalton Kincaid to be something he's not, right? Dalton Kincaid ain't Brock Bowers. James Cook is sweet, but James Cook and Josh Allen are not enough to carry what is a bad playmaker group and a bad defense. It's going to take Josh Allen to be Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta in order for the Bills to win a Super Bowl. And they got to figure something out quick. Real quick. Okay. 25 first downs for the Bills, 21 for the Patriots. 363 yards total for the Bills, 338 for the Patriots. Both teams, 6.0 yards per play. 118 yards rushing for the Bills, 71 for the Patriots. 4.1 yards a carry for the Bills, 3.2 for the Patriots. 11 penalties for the Bills, confirmed, do not respect Sean McDermott. Here it is. Up until now, dead even game. Up until now, exactly the same. Almost to the letter. 7.9 yards per pass, 7.7. 338 to 363, 10 drive, 5 for 9 on third down, 3 for 9 on third down. All the same, right? 5 rushing first downs, 5 rushing first downs. Bills, 3 turnovers, Patriots, 1. So the Patriots were +2 in the turnover margin. They win the game. Bills also had 34 minutes time of possession. The Patriots had 25. So there you go. Turnovers, man. Turnovers. Can't waste possessions in this version of the NFL. Chiefs, Jaguars. Jaguars get a big win at home. 31-28 on Trevor Lawrence's stumble that turned into a touchdown run. 26 first downs for the Chiefs, 21 for the Jags. Total yards. Whew, this is fugazi as it gets right here. Damn. Chiefs, 26. Wow, this is crazy fugazi. Just what I was waxing poetic about comes back to bite you here. Chiefs, 26 first downs. Jacksonville, 21. Chiefs, 476 yards to Jacksonville's 319. Chiefs, 7.6 yards per play to Jacksonville's 5.9 yards per play. 158 yards rushing for the Chiefs, 109 for the Jags. 7.2 yards a carry for the Chiefs, 4.2 for the Jags. Chiefs, 13 penalties confirmed. Do not respect Andy Reid. Jacksonville had 2 turnovers. They also had a defensive special teams touchdown off the Patrick Mahomes pick 6. Chiefs had 1 turnover. Now, the 1 turnover was for a pick 6, so that is a little different, but the Chiefs are +1 in the turnover margin. They won time of possession, turnover margin, rushing, passing, YPP, total drives, total yards, total plays, first downs, and lost the game. Damn, this is definitely the fugazi box score of the week right here. This is, who's Jacksonville got this week? Seattle. And Kansas City's got the Lions. I would fade Jacksonville, and I would play on Kansas City coming out of this game. The Chiefs dominated this game. 500 yards of offense, 7.6 yards per play. But the pick 6 got him. Wow, what a phony box score. Damn. Okay, I got to go make a bet on the Chiefs and fade the Jaguars. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That's every box score in week 5. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.